Yes, we can!
Andy and Dread have work to do. Abhuman beastmen are feeling blue. Gores of all kinds are so much fun. Working together, we get the job done.
Warhammer, can we fix it? 40k, yes we can!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Fixing 40k. I'm your host, Andy, and today I'm joined by the biggest, baddest dreadnought there is. But he's actually a lovely chap. Ladies and gentlemen, it's DreadAnon!
Where?
Yay!
Where is it? I've already used that
right
gag,
there.
I think, so just pretend you haven't heard it if you
How could you miss him? He's huge. He's massive.
Hey, I've been losing weight, buddy.
In a good way. I'm not sarcophagus shaming you, I'll have you know.
Okay,
I'm just like,
fair enough.
we had fun making the
they're upgrading me
art.
to a redemptor, so...
But you'll burn out and die.
No, they changed that, actually. They changed that. It doesn't happen.
They?
Well, I think so. I think they did. Maybe they didn't, and I'm talking nonsense, which is a bad start for...
To be fair,
but...
I did an episode on like ancient furnace from the Iron Hands on my channel. It's like, oh, he's like really old. He's older than Dante, possibly as old as Bjorn. And the Iron Hands love him. And they put him in a Redemptor, and all the comments are like, why? He's going to burn like a candle. Put him back in the old one.
I want to say they changed that, but I don't know for certain. There's going to be a lot of that because I meant to take notes and then I got bored after 2 bullet points.
Fair enough. Don't worry. I've got some bullet points to keep some interesting topic points today, because today we're actually going from me and Arthur, we talked about the Votan. Me and Eli, we talked about the Tau. One's quite an old faction, technically speaking. One's really old with the squats. Today we're going for another retro, really kind of obscure faction to an extent that hasn't seen any love for like the last 9 editions. Dread, what are we talking about today?
Why, Andy? We're talking about the Beastmen, everyone's favorite goat fellas. Well, I say everyone's favorite. They're certainly not Games Workshop's favorite, but we'll get into that, I suppose. Yeah, so they were a thing back in ye old ancient past, but they're not anymore, except sometimes they are. Or if you're a Thousand Sons player, they really are.
Ooh, Thousand Sons player. That's cringe. It's like Hal. Ugh. I love you, Hal. It's just making fun.
No, we can't. We can't do that because they're the only. I think if you want to play Beastmen in 40k at the minute, the Thousand Sons are your only option.
Yeah. Well, again, like there are all the gores we'll get into, and we'll go into the different types. But before we get into the weeds of it, again, I ask every guest on the show. Here's the idea. Here's the theme of the podcast. Pick a faction you really enjoy, and we'll talk about them. So what is it that you enjoy about the Beastmen specifically? Because I got to be honest, like this is like I think like most people would never pick this faction just because I know they're underrepresented, but also they're like a strange niche. So like, what do you think is like what draws you to them? Why are Beastmen cool for you?
I think Beastmen are cool because I think they're a really pure representation of what chaos is supposed to be in the lore, because like all the big chaos figures, like your Abaddons or your Aramans, they all like get bogged down in pretense and kind of like up their own ass with speeches and stuff. If there's a chaos character in your book, he's going to be making a speech about how shit the Emperor is or whatever. But Beastmen, they don't care about any of that stuff. They just want to kill and pillage and murder and another 4-letter word that I'm pretty sure I can't say on here.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so they don't get up their own asses with speeches. They just kill people. And they don't like make these obsequious displays to deities that don't really care about them. They just kill people. And they just destroy things. And I think ideally they shouldn't be beholden to things like Chaos Lords and Gods and whatever. They are, but we'll get into why I think that's stupid in a minute. But I think the spirit of kind of like untamed, wild chaos potential, I think is really well exemplified in the Beastmen. And I think if I had my way, they'd exemplify it a lot better, but it is what it is, and that's why I like them.
Yeah, I mean, the way you described it kind of makes me think of the ogres from fantasy, and that like they like eating because that's their thing, but these guys it's the same, just with killing and violence.
Yeah, because obviously they have like a hierarchy among themselves, but it's kind of like orky in that it's based around who can beat up the biggest guy in the yard, basically.
But not in a mushroom way.
Not in a mushroom way, in a goat way. It's a whole different
more horny in general.
Yeah. Hey no, this is PG-13.
This isn't a Slanesh episode. What's happening?
Well, it sort of is, but again, we'll get into that.
Slightly. Right. So as is per usual for fixing 40k, we're going to talk about the lore and the miniatures. And to be honest, I took the mick out of Arthur when we talked about how scant lore and miniatures were for the Leagues of Votan. Oh boy. Beastmen. So in terms of lore, I'll do a quick rundown of what we know in general terms. So the Beastmen apparently first appeared during the Age of Strife, and they merged with animal strains of DNA. They were formerly allowed to be recruited for the Imperial Guard, where they were valued as like bloodthirsty berserkers, and they fought in the name of the Emperor to basically absolve themselves of being mutants. They were like, I'm cringe, maybe I'll be less cringe if I kill for the Emperor. They were led by packmasters in the Militarum Auxilia. They were then subsequently severely persecuted by the Imperium, and they were placed on the Register of Proscribed Citizens by the Adeptus Arbites, basically meaning if you spot one of these, chuck them in jail. More than 300,000 worlds of the Imperium forbid any tithes from taking Beastmen into the tithes, because that's heresy. They're possibly soon going to be reclassified as Xenos Horrificus, marked for eradication because icky Beastmen. But since the Great Rift opened, Imperium Nihilus kind of has to take what they can. So now they're recruiting Beastmen into the Fraternus Militia for the Ecclesiarchy during the era Indomitus. They don't let them use lasguns because they are unworthy, filthy mutants, but they'll give them an autogun, and they're led by Confessor Sergeants. And they fight, I like this, they fight in the name of the Goat Emperor. I think that's a mistranslation on their part, but, kind of fun. A lot of them like to worship chaos. They frequently are parts of the Lost and the Damned armies of chaos. There's also, like, a variety of different types specifically for each of the four chaos gods. So you got Bloodgores, Pestigores, Slangors, and Tzaangors. There's also, like, massive versions of Beastmen that are called Minotaurs or Minotaurs, which are comparable to, like, an Ogre in strength. And there are even ones known as Trolls, which are humongous. But for the most part, there's also like a newish, I think, release of Beastmen called the Felgor Ravagers, who are openly just like worshipping chaos, and they're led by Beastmen herds. There's a couple of characters, Gore Halfhorn, who's from Necromunda, so no one knows who he is. Yeah, and Brutus.
It's literally two. Brutus is awesome. I love Brutus. He's great.
And Brutus is a friend of Fabius Bile, and that's all of their lore. Anything you want?
Oh, geez.
Well,
but you missed out one crucial Beastman.
Oh no.
I did. Some rando who gets like 3 paragraphs worth of information about him in one of the Siege of Terra books. I forget which one, but
oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't even remember who it is, but like someone's giving they're trying to the Chaos guys, they're trying to rile up Beastman to like turn on the Emperor. And it kind of works because they play on their insecurities, because like, why would you want to fight for a society that thinks you're scum and spit at you in the street and force you into shanty towns? And it kind of works. The Beastmen are like, oh yeah, okay, this guy's got a point. But yeah, that kind of represents the way things are going for them in the lore, because like I think Games Workshop, they want to try and get away from Imperial aligned Beastmen, because that was their representation in the early editions. That was like, okay, you can stick Beastmen heads on your guardsman models if you want. But
yeah,
they're kind of discouraging that now, and they maybe want to focus more on the chaos side of them to bring them like more in line with the representation in the other Warhammer games.
Yeah,
which is fine, but
even with the miniature line, I know there's like some ancient miniatures from like here's one Beastman occasionally. I know they had a recent-ish redo with Kill Team where they had alongside the Halfkin salvages. So like, oh, here's another army that's
the Tzaangor Ravagers
in 5 minutes.
And then
Tzaangor Ravagers,
Blackstone Fortress as well. There were a couple of like generic Beastmen models, and
Yep.
those models all look great, which is very good because I think one of the downfalls of Beastmen in Warhammer Fantasy was that their models looked like absolute puke.
Derpy.
Yeah, they just look terrible.
Boys.
These new sculpts are really good, and they're plastic too. So
always love plastic.
Yeah, Gore Halfhorn from
Life in Plastic, it's fantastic. Said
that should be that should be the motto of Games Workshop. Gore Halfhorn is still resin, but and that was a pretty recent release too. That was like 2017, I think.
Did that go in line with his cover where he's on one cover of a Necromunda book? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
This is what we're talking about here, people. This is the grand total of lore we've been given. He's like, we get one page and a model, a resin model. But that's something with him. He's like still portrayed in like his Auxilia uniform, sort of. He's got the little badge and stuff. So I know these more recent things from Blackstone Fortress and Kill Team have been like chaos, and so I think Gore Halfhorn, he's probably the most recent reference to like Imperial Beastmen, and that's like 7 or 8 years ago. So maybe they're moving away from it, but I don't know.
It's always a bit disconcerting not to rise the hackles of Necromunda fans more than I have, but it's like it seems like whenever GW's like it's like we'll put them in Necromunda, no one will care, and then it's like the safest option. Like don't put it in
they
the 40K
did that with the squats
line.
too. They got a couple of Necromunda squats before they. I think that was before they reintroduced the Leagues of Votan.
Yeah, and they look sick. Like the Votan minis in Necromunda look. I love how bulbous and rotund they are. They're so good. They're my rotund boys. I love them, but it's just like I don't give a damn about Necromunda. I got to be honest. Like I'm a bit of a Warhammer elitist in a way because I'm like I like the grandiosity of like a galaxy-spanning space opera, and something about Necromunda. I'm like I can never get into it because it's just like
it's a bunch of gangs fighting in a city. Like you can, there are cities on Earth you can go to now if you want that same experience.
Yeah. And there's like some really compelling stuff about like I remember going through the Cypher book that came out a year or two ago, and it goes into like a lot of detail about like you're on Holy Terror. It's not even close to like wine and roses. It's like, oh my god, there are pilgrims coming to this planet, spending their life's earnings just to like get safe passage. I say safe passage through the warp in like closed brackets. To get to Terra, just so they can like kneel in front of the Imperial Palace and die, and there's like corpses everywhere, and there's smoke, and it's polluted, and it's terrible. And it's like this is like the half of humanity, and it sucks, and everyone's dying all the time, and it's really confusing, and the scale of it, people can't comprehend how like vast the palace is. Like, oh, it's a building. It's like, no, it's like a labyrinth of a building with like so much stuff going on. It's like that's really interesting. And there's like Necromunda's like, I don't like you because I'm a big boy. Bang, bang, bang. Oh, well, I'm going to kill you for the money, for my gang warfare. Bang, bang, bang. And to be fair, I haven't read up much on Necromunda, but to be honest, I'm like, there's no space.
I think the dynamic between all the gangs is really fun, but yeah, I don't know. You've got like huge galaxy-spanning empires and like weapons that can annihilate a planet in one blast, and then you have like a bunch of punks fighting on city streets. So I can understand from a certain perspective why a lot of people might not find it appealing. And it is sort of sometimes where GW send their concepts off to die. Just sending them to the spin-offs.
Wow.
But if any Necromunda players are listening to this, we love and respect you as fellow hobbyists. Whew. Well, gosh, we really zoomed our bet in there.
Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
Don't want the Necromunda fans getting angry at us. All 2 of them. Wow.
Oh, come on. Well, I don't think, as a Beastmen enjoyer myself, I don't think I've
Can't throw stones.
Yeah, I don't think if it's a popularity contest, I don't think we're winning that one. So I can't say too much about that.
To be fair, as much of a meme as it is, I'm a bit of a Space Marine enjoyer. So like, I often joke about whenever
a
like
Space Marine enjoyer deep down.
Well, it's just like whenever Colin or Eli get excited about Eldar, I'm like, I will only be happy as long as there's 5 Space Marine captain like releases to coincide with them, because we haven't got enough Space
An
Marine
Eldar
captains
combat
or
patrol.
lieutenants.
Where's the Primaris
Oh.
lieutenant?
Where's another intercessor? I need at least 12 more variants, please.
Yeah. When the Beastmen's Day finally come, you'll be wondering, oh, where's the freaking Primaris jump pack guy tank ATV
Chaplain
thing
on a bike. Yeah.
They probably, you know that thing in South Park where they let manatees like make new shows for them by like putting balls next to each other. I'm pretty sure that's how they do like new Space Marine releases. Like, oh, what haven't we done? We've not done a chaplain with a Neo-Volkite pistol on a surfboard. That's brilliant. Send it to the sculptors post haste.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, so even sometimes with the lore, I enjoy weird little novelties like, oh,
like
here's an
Beastmen.
Ultramarines Tech Marine who's also a Dreadnought. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he's got like, and they had to make like a forge specifically for him because his hammer's so big. And he's like, I can still make really small stuff, but I'm a Dreadnought and I'm cool. And he's like, red. I'm like, a red Dreadnought Tech Marine Ultramarine. That's cool. And he's in the Uriel Ventress books. I'm like, cool. Beastmen, right? Beastmen. So
Beastmen are also pretty cool if you'll just give them a chance.
Well, we talked briefly about the Felgor Ravagers, but like other than that, what miniatures do they have? I genuinely looked online.
There's the generic ones from Blackstone Fortress, and there are the 20 trillion Tzaangors you get with the Thousand Suns Combat Patrol.
Tzaangors, man.
Yeah, you get with spend your hard-earned cash on the Thousand Suns Combat Patrol, and you will get 1 Sorcerer, 5 Terminators, 25 Tzaangors.
I do like the idea though that like with the new release of World Eaters, there'll be no Blood Gores. And it's like, what happened to them? It's like, oh, the World Eaters ate them. That's why there are no Blood Gores.
I can see that happening. No. This ties into a point I want to make that I don't believe should be a thing, but for some reason it is. Beastmen across all their portrayals have this kind of tendency to be the lowest rung on the totem pole for Chaos Worshippers. Like, everyone looks down on them, and it's sort of implied that the gods don't even like them very much. Because, like...
Slanesh looking at a Tzaangor going, ew, I don't even like
no,
that.
but yeah, that's what happens. Because, like, and to me, that never made a whole lot of sense, because the justification is that Beastmen will always worship Chaos anyway, so they don't need to, like, give them gifts or whatever.
Kind of easy to please.
Yeah, so...
They'll do it on their own, it's fine.
Yeah, and on the few occasions that they've tried, the Beastmen have been like... But we're maybe getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah, I just want to say that Beastmen shouldn't be that. Like, a cultist shouldn't look at like a 7-foot-tall goat man and go like, haha, you're a mutant.
I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Even though I was born in a hive world and I like I drink from like dirty
rip
puddles.
my head off.
Yeah.
With no problem.
Oh, look at you with your shimmering skin of like effervescent like colors and like your supernatural weapon and like diamond sharp horns and teeth. I'm like, I grew up in Birmingham, the planet. You listen to me.
Yeah.
I'm a real
There's a bit
worshipper.
in that Fabius Bile book where
oh yes.
He's like, he has like, yeah, as you mentioned, he has like a sort of half pet, half bodyguard Minotaur. And the Minotaur's like, I'll bring my boys so we can have a show of strength when we meet these loyalists. And Fabius is like, show of strength? Those guys? Okay, I guess if you want. All right. But like, why is that? Like,
although to be fair though, Fabius Bile in that same book series, he confronts a demon who he like he shot with a bunch of needles to test poison on, and then the demon died and was reborn and was like, I don't like you, Fabius, because you were like, I'm so beneath you, you use me as an experiment to test your new concoctions of poison, and I hate you. And then I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, he just like kills him again. It's like,
I guess that's just Fabius being
and
Fabius.
it's just Fabius. And one of his
Yeah.
advisors like, oh, what's his problem? He's like, I poisoned him to death once. It's not a big deal. He needs to get over himself.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Fabius, you're a crazy fella. And to be fair, if you want to read like a fun book series, Fabius Bile is not a bad option. Like,
yeah, they're pretty good.
I'm not even like a massive Emperor's
I just
Children
need
fan.
to
but that
I
book
just need
series,
to
I'm like,
take
"Oh,
every
it's fun."
opportunity to gripe about the Beastmen's betrayal,
Okay, go for it.
such as it is. Yeah, when they show up, usually, and they have been showing up more recently, which to me maybe indicates that GW are going to do something with them. Because like they have got a couple new models, and they've been getting referenced in mostly in the background of books. I think that Fabius Bile book was in 2020 something. So like it's pretty recent. And it wasn't so long ago that they would never be mentioned ever, and they almost seemed a bit embarrassed by them. But like occasionally, if it's like a book about a chaos character, they'll say, "Oh, and the hordes of beastmen were loading the ship's artillery, looking like a bunch of stinky goat men." Which it's not a lot, but it's something.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they're also hedging their bets a lot, where they're going, when we have, like, for example, the Felgors, we'll pair them with the Votan. So you've got two newish reinventions of these factions. And that's not a bad way to do it. But like something that crossed my mind recently was we've had the new Emperor's Children line released. And I
where are my
asked in the
Tzaangors?
chat- Well, here's the thing, is like we could get the Tzaangors, but there's also something about like I'm sure I got a comment on the live stream where I mentioned this, but in the animation where it's about Lucius the Eternal, there's like a Terminator, and he has like Beastmen-esque features. He's got hooves, he's got a bull head, and there was something the comment mentioned about like, oh, if you're a worshipper of Slanesh, certain attributes that mutate your body are signs of particular like vices you have. And I was like, that's interesting. So you get like these bull-headed Emperor's Children with tusks and like hooves. I'm like, that's kind of cool. But at the same time, it's kind of taking from the Beastmen aesthetic. And I'm like, was that an attempt by GW to be like, rather than reinventing the Beastmen, let's just kind of combine them with Chaos Space Marines and we'll call it job done? Am I being a bit cynical there, maybe?
Well, I guess it all hinges on whether it ends up having any representation in the tabletop, because I guess that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's like selling models and finding utilitarian ways to use old bits of old models, and that's where the Beastmen come from originally. It's the Games Workshop were given a license to print RuneQuest miniatures. This was way back in the day. Yeah, they were printing RuneQuest miniatures, and RuneQuest has a race called the Brew, who are like goat people. And when they lost the license, they were like, "Oh, we've got a bunch of these goat people. What do we do with them?" Well, I've heard the pen jockeys are coming up with this new setting called Warhammer. Maybe we could do something with that. And thus, a race was born because they needed to repurpose old sculpts and stuff.
I just love the idea that like if they ever had the option to work with like Star Wars and make miniatures, and like we've got all these leftover Darth Vader bits, and it's like we have a species called the Vadorians, and they all wear these masks with these like chest computers, and they're all asthmatic.
I bet
it's
that
just
would
like
happen.
me for real.
Yeah, because like I've always wondered, like obviously they don't really do that anymore except for Lord of the Rings. So I'm always keeping a little beady eye on those Lord of the Rings models to see if there's any cross pollination.
The Rahimerites. Oh yeah, what's that? Oh yeah, Force guys.
Yeah, because like some of those Lord of the Rings models are pretty cool. Like the weird non-canon trolls in the Hobbit movies. At least they look like shit on screen, but at least we've got some cool models. And then you can buy a model of Smaug for like £400. So if if you ever wanted to do that for some reason.
I must admit, like, this is a tangent, but I'm a little bit saddened these days that, like, CGI, there'll always be bad CGI, but now we're in an era where you will not get as much bad CGI at the cusp of technological, like, sophistication. Like, now we have, like, lifelike, say, Grand Moff Tarkin and Leia in Rogue One was a bit uncanny, but other than that, like, I think we've more or less gone over the hump of, like, this is the absolute best that CGI can do, and I'm a bit sad that we don't get, like, the goofy looking CGI monsters, unless it's like a B movie,
Yeah.
with Seinfeld.
Well,
No,
to
like
the
a
extent that
B-list
like
movie.
B movies even exist anymore, because now everything goes
Mm.
on streaming. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like nowadays, special effects pretty much always at least look pretty good. Like it's very rare you'll see something that looks like people used to say, "Oh, that looks like a PS2 cutscene." Well, you're not going to see that anymore. You know, it'll
Mm.
look like a PS4 cutscene at worst.
Yeah.
You know, in those Hobbit movies, I always remember thinking, "Oh, that looks amazing." I couldn't tell that CGI. And then you see an actual person standing next to them, and then you're like,
Oh,
okay,
no.
okay, now I can tell."
Comparison is the thief of joy, apparently.
Yeah.
Even in CGI. But yeah, so we've gone over, like, to be fair, it was a bit of a brief segment because it's like,
We got nothing,
here's the lore,
folks.
here's the minis.
We got nothing. There's
got nothing.
nothing.
But here's the fun part. Okay, let's get on to, we're gonna fix, you and I, just imagine, you're James, I'm Workshop. We have as much money as we want, as much creative freedom as we want, don't have to worry about resources or anything like that. Focusing first on the lore, how do we fix the Beastmen? I think it would be fair to say that making a Beastman book would probably be a bit too, like, harsh.
even the bare minimum at this stage is just like, oh, that's a bit ambitious.
Well,
a book.
because the only thing is, like,
heavens to Betsy.
Well, I'm just saying that, like,
Yeah, I know what you
don't
mean,
think
though,
a Beastman book would sell
that
on
would be
its
too
face
much
because,
too soon.
yeah,
yeah.
I feel like people would be like, who? Like, 'cause
That
I
would be running
still
before you could walk,
believe,
yeah.
I still believe most players don't even realize Beastmen are a thing. Even
That's
with, like,
probably
Space
true.
Marine 2, where we had Tzaangors as an enemy type, they were just like, he's a goofy warp thing.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that's an actual faction in Warhammer. They're just like, it's a goofy gooby guy.
They've
don't worry
been
about
there
him.
for 20 damn years, you kids.
Yep. They've been around since first edition. According to my
they've
list.
been there since the very, very beginning, but I think they were the first time you get like a Beastmen army in any of the Warhammers is in like Warhammer Fantasy 6th edition, which I think was around the year 2000, which is actually more recent than I thought it would be.
The earliest things I have is Codex Chaos number 2, 2nd edition. They're in 2 pages, and they're in 1 page of Codex Imperialis 1st edition.
Yeah,
so they are there.
Yeah,
but it's like a paragraph.
In fantasy, like they got this harebrained idea since apparently most players either picked Warriors of Chaos, Demons of Chaos, or Beasts of Chaos. They decided to split it into 3 separate armies, and then of course, Beasts and Demons sold like absolute shit, so they
made
put
more
Demons back
Marines.
with. Exactly. Yeah. So the 40k guys, they never got balls big enough to make the Beastmen their own thing, which was probably a good idea because it failed so miserably in fantasy. And I guess even though they did it again for Age of Sigmar, it must have failed there too because they infamously they got rid of the Beastmen in Age of Sigmar. And if we're talking about fixing 40k Beastmen, Age of Sigmar Beastmen are pretty much the template, I would say. But they had a good thing going. They had a good thing going, and they just got rid of him because, I was saying earlier, I don't think Beastmen should be subservient to like human chaos worshippers, because in the lore, Beastmen look down on humans, but for some reason, in all the stories and stuff, they serve them unquestionably, and I think that's silly because Beastmen have more of a claim to being like pure children of chaos than any human does. Because in 40k and in fantasy and Age of Sigmar, they're sort of like Beastmen themselves are manifestations of the presence of chaos in the world. Like, as soon as chaos enters the world, you get Beastmen.
Yeah.
And so it never really made sense to me that Beastmen would be so willing to serve like human servants of chaos. And I guess it's because the chaos gods favor them more, but
Hmm.
Age of Sigmar had a sneaky little workaround, because in Age of Sigmar all beastmen were, well, not all beastmen, but most beastmen were worshippers of chaos undivided. And crucially, they didn't like the gods. They thought the gods were like upstarts, and they didn't like humans. They worshipped sort of the primordial force of chaos rather than any of the chaos gods, which I always thought made a lot more sense.
I mean,
No, you got
it-
some, you did get some beastmen who went and did worship one of the mono gods, but again, then they were treated like absolute dirt, and which I think makes sense in that context when you have like different factions of chaos worshippers kind of coming into conflict with one another. Which I think personally is more interesting than them all teaming up all the time. I think that's dumb. Like in the end times in Warhammer Fantasy, like you've got Malagor, the Dark Omen, who is supposed to be the biggest, baddest beastman of them all, and he spends the entire story like running interference for gun batteries. Like, no, that's not what he would do for Archeon or whatever. He would be like
go have
taking
an arm
charge.
wrestling competition with Grimgor Ironhide. Go on, do something.
But yeah, so I think Age of Sigmar Beastmen had a pretty good template that 40k could potentially draw from. If they didn't get rid of them.
Do they actually have? Do they in that setting then? Do they actually have books?
Well, no, but they did have
Oh.
these little stupid listicles you could download from the website. Because Age of Sigmar lore didn't really get rolling until recently. The first editions were pretty. The first edition, I should say, was pretty bare bones. And
got to lay the foundations.
Yeah, but some people didn't like that, but I think it's in a pretty good place now, except for the fact that they got rid of the Beastmen. But you know, can't have it all.
Because the thing is, it's like I know. I just said like you couldn't have a Beastmen book specifically. But
well, you could in the different settings where Beastmen
really...
are more built up, but they just didn't do that, I suppose.
I mean, it's like I feel like the route of if you want to bring Beastmen back, the obvious choice is the Cicatrix Maledictum, where it's like, hey, Imperium's cut in half. You could have a book where it's about like a priest of the ecclesiarchy, and he's like, oh my god, we're cut from the Emperor's light. This is terrible. We haven't got reinforcements to defend my world. This sucks. And you could be like, oh, we got Beastmen. And the story is basically the arc is like, smelly beastmen. I don't like beastmen. And he's a bit of a racist towards beasts.
Yeah.
Bad priest. And the story is an arc about, hey, maybe beastmen are good after all. And he learns to get through his own prejudices, which is saying something in 40k. And then they fight and they win, and then they all die at the end because it's 40k. But like you could have a little story about like the Beastmen, and you could explore that idea of like, I love the idea of the goat emperor of mankind, and you could just have the priests going like, he's not a goat, and they're like, he is a goat, and he's got big horns.
Yeah,
like,
there was a little line in one of the Necromunda short stories, I think, where the House Escher, the all women gang, they think the emperor is a woman because, of course, they would, because to them
the matriarch,
and I think that's an interesting way you could explore that. And even like you could have, you know, some of the beastmen get disillusioned and then turn to chaos, and then the good ones, they have to like prove themselves extra hard, stuff like that. You know, that's that's like the most basic story you can do in 40k, but it'd be something. And
you could have like a squad of beastmen, and each one is going down the path of their respective. Like you've got a Bloodgore, Pestigore, Slangor, Tzaangor, and then the leader, and then maybe like some turn to chaos and some don't.
Yeah.
Maybe he redeems one or two. Maybe a couple of them fall to chaos and start their own war bands.
Because
that could be interesting.
I think that's a great idea actually that you brought up, because like I think that would be okay. So here's a dated reference. Do you remember Do you know the Pandaren from World of Warcraft?
Vaguely.
Yeah,
Very
they're
vaguely.
they're like panda. They're like Chinese
Panda
panda monks.
Express.
Yeah,
They're
no,
Kung Fu Panda in Warhammer.
Don't say that.
Warcraft.
Yes.
Warcraft.
Okay. So their whole thing was that when they came out, if you picked a panda guy to play as, you could either join the goodies, the alliance, or you could choose to join the baddies, the horde, and no other race in the game could do that at the time. I think it's probably different now, but so I thought maybe that would be cool if they ever reintroduced like the Beastmen as a more of a concrete kind of faction in the tabletop, that if you could like choose whether to they're maybe I don't think they would ever release a full codex for it or whatever, but you could, provision for Beastmen units in your Chaos armies or your Astra Militarum armies.
I mean, do they did in the past. Do they do
They did, but
expansions?
well,
anymore?
The new Guardsman Codex is just around the corner, or has it just come out? I haven't read it,
Sure.
but yeah, maybe there'll be something in there. I don't know, but like, yeah, I think it. But if that was ever the case, it was only like your very basic, like a guy with a sword and a gun. Like, I think you could expand on that. You could like bring in Minotaurs or Centaurs or maybe even Psychers, shamans and whatnot. You could do something there.
Bring in the Minotaurs chapter to fight alongside the
Whoa!
Minotaur Beastmen.
Maybe their mascot could be
Double
a Minotaur.
Double Minotaurs, min-maxing, if you will. Minotaur maxing.
Minotaur maxing.
Yeah.
Not that the Minotaurs would ever get along with anyone, but
no, they're not like nice chaps at all. They're all dicks.
yeah.
Because
I always thought like Minotaurs if you got on your hands, if you were like an Imperial guard regiment and you got your hands on a Minotaur, you wouldn't be like, ugh, disgusting goat fella, kill it. You'd be like, hey, big fella, you want
how many las cannons can we equip to this guy?
You want to?
He's so fast and he shoots so many guns. It's awesome.
Yeah, it'd be like an Ogren on steroids and crack and a bunch of whole other different drugs.
Or just like sit on his back and be like, don't worry, this isn't like a sex thing. I just can like you ride into battle. I'll like put an auto cannon on your shoulder and shoot the cannon from your shoulder while you dual wield like las guns or auto cannons because you're not allowed to use las guns because you're a beastman. And then we could like tear through the lines of chaos and you could just be like, maybe beastmans, we should be friends with them because they're just nice fellas if you give them a chance. Warhammer, and then Exterminatus happens and they all die because it's Warhammer. But still,
now it's called Friendhammer. We're calling it Friendhammer, and everyone's friends.
Yep. Everyone's friends.
Yeah. So I think, like, practically in tabletop terms, you should, you don't even have to like make new models. Just like bring in a couple from the other games and like maybe stick some brown leather sacks on them or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not as simple as that, but
well again, like with the story side of things, like, do you have any ideas of like fun things you could do with?
You could do tons. I think
like not even with them being the primary thing necessarily, but like just give them a bit more chance to shine throughout.
Yeah,
the series.
there's a whole bunch of stuff you could do, but only if you like pry them away from this stupid position they've been occupying for the past 40 years as like the doormats of chaos. Like, there's no reason they should be there other than like Games Workshop being weirdly rigid about these things. And then there is like I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard like the different departments within Games Workshop kind of get competitive with each other, and they're like,
okay,
oh no, if we're using that, you can't use that. We have to have that, and that's maybe why Beastmen got the plug pulled in Age of Sigmar. I have no idea if that's true or not, but like I could I could believe it the way this company conducts themselves.
I just like the idea that the Games Workshop rivalry has outlasted the Berlin Wall. Like, that was going on 28 years, and like the Beastmen divide has been going on 40, and they're just like, no, you can only have it in fancy. Like, we want to play with them in 40k. No, we're not having it. That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, you could. There's like so much stuff you could do. You could have like I don't know. Like, I know the Tzaangor. There's like a Tzaangor sorcerer in Space Marine 2. Now they added is like so you could do so.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like maybe a Tzaangor sorcerer accrues like a big cult, and humans start joining it, and maybe actual chaos sorcerers don't like that because they're like, "What? You're serving a beast man? Ugh. Well, where's your pride?"
Oh. There's some haughty thousand son who's not dead where he should be, just being like, "You're not allowed to command the legions of Sinch. I'm a space marine." And
Yeah,
he's
and
like,
then
"We'll
maybe the
show this
Sangor
guy."
sorcerer is like, "Well, I look a lot more like a Lord of Change than you do, buddy." So
Ooh, playing the racism card. Wow.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's even just within the Thousand
It's
Suns, you
chaos.
could
It's
take
fine.
I think you could take it in a lot of interesting directions. And like you said,
Mm,
a squad of beastmen who, their loyalties get tested. Some of them fall to chaos, some of them don't. Or even you could give us some characters. As I think, Brutus, the anonymous guy from the Siege of Terra, and
mm.
Gore Halfhorn are literally the only three Beastmen characters we've had in a while. But I think they might be wary about that because none of the Beastmen characters in Age of Sigmar really took off. Like it's just like
Hmm.
Goat Man. He has a sword and he's really big and strong.
I mean, you could have a Death Watch story where it's a team of elite Death Watch and they find some beastmen and they're just like they're cut off from communications and they're just like, is this a Xenos? I don't know. It looks like a mutant.
Let me check the
Well, we don't want
Libra's
like.
Xenos.
Let me. Oh, we're cut off from communications. I guess until we get the go ahead, we won't kill them out of hand. They kind of seem like they're
Yeah, and
loyal
maybe
to the
maybe the
Imperium.
Beastmen are like super nice to them because they're like Imperial
Yeah,
Beastmen. But then at the end of the story, they're like, "Oh no, yeah, you have to kill those guys. We don't want them around no more."
yeah.
And the
They
guys are
they
like,
worship
"Oh
the Goat Emperor, and that's
yeah,
wrong. So you should
get
kill
rid of
them. And
him.
they're
Get
like,
him out of here. Get
oh,
him the
but
hell out of
they
here."
saved my life in a battle. I kind of don't want to do that. It's like, well, look here, mate. Do you want to go back to your chapter of origin or not? And he's like, loads bolt shell. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
could be like that whole Uriel Ventress thing. It's just like, does the Emperor love me? Like, yes, yes, he does.
I'm focusing a lot on Gene Father here because it's one of the little morsels of Beastmen we've got in the past while. But like the dynamic in that book between what do you call him? Primus?
Oh
Alpha
yeah.
Primus? Yeah,
Alpha
Alpha
Primus,
Primus and Brutus, and like they have a big fight and it's really cool. And Brutus
yeah.
is like, You're a man of integrity, just like me. And Alphys is like, "No, I'm not. No, no.
You're a gross mutant.
Yeah."
Yeah.
And like it's actually a pretty even fight until the end when
Which
Primus
is weird
just
considering that like Primus is like a demi Primarch in a way. He's
yeah,
like he's more powerful than a Space Marine, but he's less powerful than a Primarch. It's like he's in that
and
middle
Brutus
ground.
is just like a big bull fella.
Yeah. Which
But
is
then
why
wait, there you go. A Minotaur is like one of the greatest military assets the chaos forces of chaos could have. Maybe there should be more of them.
yeah.
Because
You could literally have an Astra Militarum book where it's like, hey, the line soldiers are doing this much, they're gaining this much ground. The Beastmen are covering 3 times as much ground, claiming way more territory, and yet they're being treated worse. And they could be like, hey, mate, I'm doing like me and my battalion are running rings around this regiment, and you're treating us worse and not being funny. We're all sons of the Emperor here. Where the hell's my corpse starch for all the work we've done? And you could have like you could have a fun inter-political like Astra
oh no,
Militarum
yeah,
book where
you
it's
could have
like,
like a fun.
hey,
And then I think it'd be cool to see maybe like some of the other abhumans come along, and like maybe like an Ogren shows up and everyone loves Ogrens, so like they're all
yeah,
pally with the Ogren, and then the Beastmen are like, why are you treating him so nice? He's like a big troll
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a ratman just like, don't worry about it, mate. They don't like me because I have big feet. Say, what? That's the thing. Say, yeah, humans are weird. They're like, oh, we like this guy because he's got lots of stickers on his shirt that shows he's a good boy. But they don't like me covering them from 1,000 yards away, picking off all the people that want to kill them
Yeah.
just because I have hairy feet. It's like, fair enough, mate. That's weird.
Yeah. I've hair on my head. Oh wow, we have so much in common. Maybe we should be friends. I have horns.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's a bit weird, but I can work with that.
Yeah. You could even
I
have
also
like
you can do so much like within the Chaos Realm. You could have like maybe like a Beastman Wargore who's like he's racking up loads of kills, and the other forces of Chaos, they're getting a little bit jealous of him, so they conspire to take him down, but he's too powerful, so they need to do something about that. That's because like there's so much you could do, but
Oh,
they just
you
will
know
not
what you
do
could
it.
do with that? You could have a bit where one of the characters goes like, we're gonna have to call this war a name. Say, what about the War of the Beast? Nah, it's been taken. Oh, what
Ooh,
about the War of Beasts?
little Easter
No,
egg.
that's been taken too. What? It's like, yeah,
Oh,
both of those have been taken by the Imperium.
speaking of,
Really? Oh,
speaking
okay.
of, you know the way the Imperial Guardsman APC is called a Taurox because
Mhm.
there's a there's a Taurox in Warhammer Fantasy, and he's a Beastman, so that's a
Yeah.
little Easter egg, little fun reference.
Mm.
You could also you could just bring all the fantasy characters over to 40k like they do with the demons, because
Yeah.
they're not using them because the setting's been fucking destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, even like, I have a wild card here. Like,
Oh,
what if
What
you
if?
had, like, again, it's like an Astra Militarum sort of thing, and the Beastmen are frontline soldiers, but what if, like, the regiment they're paired with are hunters, and
Oh.
they're all like, oh, Beastmen horns are prized because they're really sturdy, and we like to use them for making weapons, and we use them for medicine, etc. So on the sly, we're gonna hunt the Beastmen when, like, everything's going mental. And then when we get back to regiment command, we'll just be like, oh, we didn't do anything. And then there's like a whole squad
Scandalous.
of beastmen who have to like go, hey, we're being shot at both sides, and you need to sort this out because this is heresy, if you ask me. And you could have this whole political thing where it's like, well, we just kind of want you to kill chaos cultists. So yeah, no, yeah, but also like my mate Kevin, this guy like hit him in the
Kevin
dead of
Beastman.
night. They abducted him. They cut his horns off and ground it into
Kevbor.
like dust to like yeah. It's like you could have like so
And
many
because
like
because the Beastmen think that
because
the Beastmen think that Beastmen with no horns are a bunch of jobbers, it could be a great thing.
yeah
It could be a great mark of shame to have your horns removed.
yeah.
And then
Culturally, this has put me in a bad position. You need to sort it out. We don't really care. We're the Imperium.
yeah,
Ugh. And that could be like
the
a story.
commissar just comes along. He's like, "Oh my god, what do I do with these people?"
Mm.
And then
But I'll
the
tell you
the
what,
big twist,
they're good at
the
fighting.
big twist,
Ooh.
the big twist
Mhm.
at the end is that Imperial High Command is like, well, these Beastmen are good at killing folks, but they're a bit of a nuisance if you ask me.
Or I got another twist. Or
What?
Imperial High Command is like, yeah, we buy the goods off these hunters who hunt them
Oh
down in
my
the first
god!
place. And we kind of like that stuff, so don't do anything.
Holy crap! What a twist!
How
What a-
grim dark is
M
that?
Night, get M Night Shyamalan on the phone. I've got a winner for him.
Get him and Henry, like put them together. Like what a twist!
Henry, I've got $300 million in the bank account. If you'll do this
You have
right now,
$300 million? I don't
Well,
have.
Games Workshop probably do. I don't.
Probably. Well, I mean, to be fair, their profit margins are insane these days. They sell
Oh
plastic
yeah,
for like
I
hundreds.
think like they literally make more profit year after year after year.
I'm
which
pretty
is-
sure they're in like the top 100 businesses in the UK almost, or they already are. Like they've
Yeah.
gone. I think they might be in the FTSE 100, or they're not far off. It's like their profit margins just like, and it's gone massive.
It's
So,
crazy how
especially for a small company, they're crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy how cheap they are. Like, not in terms of prices, but like how cheapskates they are.
Well,
when-
to be fair, there's that saying, isn't there? How do the rich stay rich? Because they're cheap. Like, I see. Yeah. But to be fair, there's like some fun ideas for stories. Like maybe one day I'll write a Beastman story.
Yeah, you could do anything except put them on the tabletop, I guess, because all their models are shit.
Well, speaking of the tabletop, how do we fix the tabletop? Because here's the thing, right? My whole thing is I'm like, Beastman, there's so much potential with just that idea. Like, but for some reason, every miniature in 40k is a humanoid-looking guy with horns. Whereas I'm like, okay, kind of like what I said before. If you had a Minotaur, you could have, he's got 4 legs, he's got 2 arms, body of a horse, top of a man, you could give him like dual wielding las cannons, and like
Well, they need to make new sculpts for that, so
they would, but it's like could you imagine like autoguns, 2 autoguns, belt fed, with a massive crate of ammo on the back of the Minotaur, feeding directly into both guns. Oh, that would go hard.
Yeah, that'd be sick. But again, like they'd never do that because they'd have to make something new instead of just repurposing something from 40 years ago.
Well, remember,
they do
James, I'm Workshop, so
we can do anything.
Go nuts. We have all the fake money in the imagination land.
Well, I think you would need to like literally just wipe the slate clean in terms of Beastmen models because they all are terrible. Like all the new shaman they're releasing for the old world looks pretty good, but all the I don't think they got many new models towards the end of Fantasy or even in the beginning of Age of Sigmar. I think that was all repurposed like Fantasy stuff. So you would need to wipe the slate clean, I think, and make new models for all of the Beastmen variants, which would be okay because we've got infinite money in our fake little scenario.
Yes.
So
yes,
I want to see Ungors with who are like ferrying weapons and ammunition to the bigger guys. I want to see Gors on the front line. I want to see Centaurs who are like Rough Rider units, but they don't need a rider because their bottom half is already a horse.
They am the horse.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got Bullgrins, but an actual bull instead of an Ogrin, so they're just bulls, I guess.
Can I sneak in a fun unit?
You may. You may.
What if you had the kind of cavalry Rough Riders, and also rebrand some of the Attilan Rough Riders, where they're like, oh, horses are pretty great, but this is also cool, and just have an Attilan Rough Rider on the gore, like yeah, and they're both cooperating. It's like, you're fast, I like fast, I have a spear.
I don't know
Can
if
I have
the
a refresh,
would put up with that, but yeah, it's a cool idea. And then, of course, there are a couple of Beastmen sculpts that were good, mostly like their bigger units, like the Gorgon and the Tzaangor. And the Jabberslythe! Bring the Jabberslythe into 40k!
All right. So to explain for the audio listeners, what are those miniatures like?
Okay, so a Gorgon is like a giant, but they have 4 arms and a bull head, and their arms, like 2 of their arms end in like massive spikes. So they're like they're basically like Beastmen giants, but cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And Tzaangors are also Beastmen giants, but they only have 1 eye. In the lore, anyone who looks them in the eye dies, but obviously that doesn't work in the tabletop.
Just imagine having them and a navigator staring at one another. What would happen?
A stare down, but with psychic energy. And they also throw rocks because Games Workshop are very creative like that.
So that's what would happen. They'd stare at each other until he just goes boom, and then the navigator gets
basically
crushed.
and a Jabberslythe is like this hideous like frog dragon goat thing with wings, and again in the lore, anyone who looks at it like dies of fright, even though they just look like a cool monster. And if you saw one in real life, you'd be like, oh, sick.
You just
instead
go,
of
nice.
dying. Yeah, nice. That's a cool monster. Yeah, even just like even just porting the existing units to 40k would be like, it would open up so many avenues, and you could use them in your loyalists or your chaos armies because that's how they roll.
Yeah, put them in the Inquisition. Why not? Inquisitors can do what they like. Like, I've got a Minotaur, mate. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, and if we're going by Genefather, a Minotaur can like beat a Primarch. Well, not beat, but like fight a almost Primarch to a standstill. So you know, I'd want one of those following me around, being my pal. Like,
yeah, Devastation of Baal would have gone differently if Dante had a bunch of Minotaurs. Just saying.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm just saying, if these characters were real people, Games Workshop, they'd be wanting the Beastmen on their side too.
Because I mean, I love novelty, right? So, to give you an example, I recently found out. Are you familiar with the Sons of Dawn chapter of Space Marines?
Are they Is that Dawn or Dorn, like the robot?
Dawn, like the Primarch.
Okay,
not
yeah.
the sun.
Yeah.
So their chapter master is a pariah.
Whoa.
And he's called Alexandros the Mad. And he takes his name from the original founder, Alexandros the Great. Nod, nod, wink, wink.
I see what you did there.
And his destiny is to fight Alexandros the Mad, who was a psyker who used to be the chapter master but fell to chaos. And I'm like, bear in mind, this was a fan chapter that became canon. But I'm like, I'm just saying, if we can have a Space Marine chapter led by a pariah, can we have
I
a
see.
Space Marine
I
chapter
see where you're going.
Who turns into a Beastman?
Oh,
I mean,
it's too peak. It's too peak, Andy. I can't handle it.
Soul Drinkers have a Spider-Man. Can't we have a Beastman? Please.
Yes, I say why not? I will.
Because can you turn into a Beastman if you're in the warp too long?
And also, well, it depends on the mood of the writer that day. Because sometimes the Beastmen are just mutants and there's nothing chaotic about them, and then sometimes they're just expressions of chaos energy, and sometimes they're both. Like in Age of Sigmar, they're both, I think, or they were until they got fucking annihilated. I will never stop complaining about that because they were just starting to get lore relevance. The whole story chapter of that time was called The Age of the Beast, and then they were like, "Oh, whoops, sorry, no, we're not doing that anymore. Get out of here, Beastman." Thing,
I know this is a 40k themed episode or series, I should say, but like, did you want to expand on like? I don't know anything about Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar in general, other than what Colin tells me. And we've never done an episode on Beastmen. And like, it sounds to me like they gave it a bash and then they abandoned it.
Yes. And do you know why they did that? Would you like to speculate?
Yes, please.
Okay. The army was really shit to play and nobody bought them because their models were hideous.
So they had an army. They didn't just have like
they had an army. I think I mentioned this earlier, like early on in Warhammer Fantasy, Chaos was all one big jumble. You could you had your warriors of Chaos who were like human Chaos fellas, and you had demons who were demonic fellas, and you had beastmen who were bestial fellas. But because most players who played Chaos tended to pick one or the other, it was like, oh, okay, we'll split these into 3. And all the players can do what they want. They can have like an army full of beastmen. But they were too hasty with it. And because the beastmen didn't have any fucking units. They had Ungors and they had Gors and they had Minotaurs, and that was it. And so nobody played them and they never won any tournaments or anything. So they kind of panicked. And I think they tried to maybe just bring them back into Chaos, but by the end of Warhammer Fantasy, they still were their own faction and stuff. It's just that nobody played them, and their models were really like, if there was sort of a transitional period in Warhammer modeling where they went from like super cartoony and stylized to more realistic, and the Beastmen were like permanently stuck on the cartoony side of that divide. So like you'd have your immaculately painted like Bretonnian knights who looked like they could come from like a historical war game, and they looked really cool. And then you'd look over at the Beastmen and they look like,
and you've got Gavin just like, hello,
Gavin
I'm here too.
Gavin the Gore.
Right there.
No, they look like someone's nephew sculpted them for P7 art class or something. They just looked terrible.
Oh no.
Like it was a big moment in for Beastmen fans when Total War Warhammer came out, and you finally got to see all the Beastmen characters in properly like rendered models. Because you look at the models in the tabletop, and I'm not even sure what they're supposed to be. I'm rambling a bit, but like there's a character.
The thing is, I'll go for it.
Wow, let me ramble. And you must let me ramble. I've been possessed by the spirit of Rambobulus, the Rambler.
Go for it.
Okay, there's a character in Warhammer Fantasy, a Beastman character called Morgur the Shadowgive. And he's like a big, bulky guy with a crab hand. And in the game, he looks fantastic. He looks like a big bulky guy with a crab hand, and he looks really cool. And then you look at his model, and I think it might actually be the worst model GW ever put out. It looks like, I'm not even sure what to call it. It's like a guy standing on a log, like in the process of jumping, and it's at a perfect 45-degree angle, so it looks like he's being it looks like in Pokemon when Team Rocket would go blasting off again. It looks like someone's hitting him into the stratosphere.
Oh,
And
I
it's the
see.
stupidest goddamn thing I've ever seen.
All I was gonna say is, like, again, with my interaction with Colin on Fancy Fireside, or any kind of interaction with Total Warhammer, it seems that the Total Warhammer people do more work for the lore than Games Workshop proper. Like, just cafe alone. It's like, hang on, they were just like, oh, there's no cafe lore. I guess we'll make it ourselves, and it's great. It's like, cool. So it seems like between every game, I just imagine so many people were like, when's Total Warhammer 4? When's Total Warhammer 4? It's like, yeah. Because not because they want to play the game, they just want to know more about the setting.
Yeah,
and it seems like
that was the
it's strange
that was the big blunder, because Total War Warhammer came out just as they were getting rid of fantasy, so it was like, oh wow, this freaking amazing epic setting.
Thanks, guys.
You've got wizards.
Can't believe it. You've had to prolong our setting. Oh, how dare you! Just like wiping their tears with wads of money. Like, oh no,
well,
we have to sell more miniatures. No.
To be fair, I guess they couldn't have foreseen it, and I as I understand it, the Space Marine Combat Patrol alone sold more in a year or something than every single unit in Warhammer Fantasy. So
wow.
I get it, but it was kind of, I don't know if you could call it a blunder, because they didn't know how successful Total War Warhammer was going to be. But obviously they're backtracking now with the old world and stuff. But
yeah,
it's a unfortunate situation.
And I gotta be honest, the recording of this episode is hot off the heels of the LVO 2025, where they released the Emperor's Children models. I must admit, most of the discourse has been, Emperor's Children, big whoop. Most people are like, oh, look at these Age of Sigmar and fantasy releases. I'm like, they do look pretty cool.
As someone who has like a sort of I guess an artistic interest in all three settings, like, because I don't play the tabletop game because I have no imagination. My brain has been poisoned by years of
I'm not
games.
able to play the tabletop because I'm not clever enough.
Yeah, me
I don't
neither.
have a tape measure. I'm sorry.
I don't have a table. Yeah, it's the sculpts in Age of Sigmar are far and away the best stuff GW has ever put out. They look amazing, which didn't help the Beastmen's case, because the Beastmen, when they were in Age of Sigmar, they were stuck with the old like 6th edition models. And I cannot, if you're listening to this and you don't know what they look like, go and look them up, because I assure you that they are quite terrible. Like, even if you compare the new 40k Beastmen from Blackstone Fortress and Kill Team to the last gores that were released for Warhammer Fantasy, it's like night and day. The 40k ones, they look amazing. The fantasy ones, not so much. As I've mentioned this in passing, I think, but the big models looked great. But then, of course, the problem was no one wants to pay £200 for a decent looking model in among a sea of like brown bubble vomit creatures. Well, I'm sure at least one person did, but
well, the thing is, like, could you help me answer a question that I don't have an answer for? And
okay,
we alluded to this a few times. Why are the Tzaangors so popular? Like, we don't hear about Blood Gores, we don't hear about Pest Gores, we don't hear about Slangors. Space Marine 2, you fight the Tzaangors. What is it about Tzaangors that people are so obsessed with? I don't get it.
I think it's because they have kind of a unique look with the like because they have the goat horns, but they also have the beak. So they look cool, I guess. I wish I had more of an answer for you, because I don't really know.
You're saying beak is peak.
Beak is peak. That's, well, except of course in Total War Warhammer, because they don't have beaks because of Games Workshop being their usual selves. again, it's that like inter-company rivalry thing. Like,
I mean,
oh no, the Age of Sigmar Tzaangors have beaks, so the fantasy ones don't. Which
to be
again,
fair though,
and then of course they get rid of
when
Age of
I think
Sigmar Tzaangors.
although I think I might have an idea. I think like the trouble of like if you went like Blood Gores, you have the Cornate demons who are like spiky.
Oh wait,
devil
hang
men.
on, I just realized. The Thousand Suns don't have any like expendable melee units, but the World
Well,
Eaters do, and the
yeah,
Death Guard
well,
do, and
yeah.
the Emperor's
Well, this
Children
is the thing.
do.
I was like, Nurgle has Poxwalkers. Slanesh has those like maidens with like the crab hands. And I'm like,
Yeah.
is it just because?
I think
like,
that's literally
they
it.
have pink horrors and blue horrors. To be fair, they have horrors. They have heralds. They have
but
stuff.
they didn't have a melee one until
it's
the
just about the
Tzaangors.
melee.
I think it's
Tzaangors
just
are
like
popular.
it's kind of like convergent evolution where a random animal will like evolve to look like another animal just to fill a niche. So it's like, oh, what do we got? You know, what do we got? We got oh, the Warhammer Fantasy guys have these blue goats that serve scenes. We'll have some of those. It's not like they're using them.
But I must admit, it was infuriating on release of Space Marine 2, where a Space Marine's like Thunderhammer can't break through a teeny tiny Tzaangor shield without making him like.
That's
take a
just
minute
how
to go,
great
"Ow."
the Beastmen are, bro. That's
I don't
why
know.
that's how we roll.
I don't know. It seemed a bit sus to me.
Well, it's they've been pushing they've
They've been pussyfooting around.
That's nice. No, they've been pushing Tzeentch very hard because in Bolt Gun it was Tzeentch guys as well.
Yeah.
And then in Space Marine 2, and then in the Secret Level short, again it's a Tzeentch demon.
Tzeentch. Why is I know the meme is that
well,
all the
Khorne's
creators
boring.
working Warhammer like you can't do Slanesh because X-rated.
Well, you can't do Slanesh because it's
too
sexual. You can't sell plastic crack to kids if the plastic crack has boobs.
If the crack is moaning, it's bad.
Yeah. I think it's even just that they would like pestigores are like disgusting blob creatures who have like pustules all over them and stuff, and you would need to make new sculpts for that. So I like to look at everything. Every decision these guys make is again is like a utilitarian, practical thing. So like,
yeah,
what enables them to use the least resources to make the most money? And I guess that's just like reusing things and finding new uses for old stuff.
Because the thing is, like, Bolt Gun also has like Nurgle demons, where it's like the little sassy Nurgling and stuff. But it's like the meme character itself, and like the big toads. But it's like I feel like they could have taken advantage of like if you had a pestigore, you could have rules of like you don't attack pestigores at close range because then they burst.
Oh, but nobody likes fighting those enemies in games. Like nobody likes bursting enemies in games.
Well, the thing is, like boomers are fine in Left 4 Dead, and like certain enemies are fine in.
I guess
like if you had because especially it'd be like Blood Gores, they're really good at long range, close range. You want to shoot them from long range. Pestigores, if you shoot them at close range, you get splattered, and you want to prioritize them because you don't want to get like goopied. And Tzaangors are gonna like they're gonna go on your like dating profile, and they're gonna like swipe right. I was like, no, stop that. And then like Tzaangors are gonna be like, I'm gonna take you from the ceiling and the floor. And you're like, stop that. You're messing with me. And it's just like Tzaangors are weird because they're like.
I think they're
very
like
they're
un-Tzaangor-y, which is
un-Tzaangor-y,
yeah. Because you don't need to do anything there. You can just it's just a goat guy with a sword. Like there's your fodder enemy. I guess Blood Gores are kind of like that too, but for some reason they never they're very reluctant to portray those ever, and I don't understand why. But I guess it comes down to all the Khorne factions across their games like already have like cannon fodder melee units.
Yeah, I mean, it's that thing of like, would you want a lesser Khornate demon or a Blood Gore? It's like lesser Khornate demons look like they should be in Doom, which is kind of cool.
I think Beastmen are cool. Red Beastmen are cool. Well, Khorne in Total War Warhammer 3 got the Minotaurs of Khorne. So they're like red Minotaurs. So again, Minotaurs are you would if you were army general guy of any persuasion, you would want a Minotaur because 10 of them could solo an enemy army.
I mean, even with like Space Marine 2, I feel like you could have like fun variants where with a blood gore, the longer you fight them in melee range, the more powerful they get. So like,
oh yeah, that's
if,
something.
Like,
yeah, you could do
like,
that.
You were like Tzaangors were annoying because of the shields, but it's like, but if you're fighting a blood gore, the more hits you give them that they block, the stronger they get, and then they maybe like mutate and become bigger. And it's like,
yeah.
Oh, that.
Well, I guess that's not like too functionally different from a bloodletter, which I guess is why they maybe don't. Put them around so much. But again, this goes back to what we were saying earlier. There's so much unique. You can do more with Beastmen on a character level than you can do with demons, because demons are always basically all demons in Warhammer are basically the same character. They're just like a conniving evil guy who serves chaos for a little while, but then he'll backstab you.
But the thing about like Khornate demons is they're all red guys with horns and teeth, which is kind of very similar to Beastmen.
Which,
but it's
yeah,
like,
I guess so.
But it's like, but there is like a gap there where you could say blood gores could, instead of being more red skin guys with horns and teeth, maybe have something a bit wacky and weird. Like maybe they're more like boars with tusks.
Oh, well, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like make them distinctly, completely different. Like Slanesh has a lot of crab-handed ladies with their boobs out. What could you do with Slanesh? Maybe like serpents have been overdone.
Tzaangors are kind of weird looking. They did get new models for Age of Sigmar, and they're kind of like really wide. They look like two separate bodies kind of stitched together, which I thought was kind of cool. And they have like they do have like a crab thing going on like the Demonettes, but that's just Slanesh's thing, I guess.
Or you could have them like actual crabs, and like one half has a ranged weapon to shoot you, while the other one side on scuttles towards you.
Oh my gosh, that would be so terrifying.
Claws. And you have these gigantic claws blocking fire and their bodies, and the person shooting over the claw, and then they go like in Dark Souls 3, and they swat you aside like in that swamp level. That could be like I just replayed it. I'm like, it's not as good as I remember. I gotta agree with Colin. I think
as we argued over in the Souls tier ranking. I'm not too fond of it myself, but I don't begrudge.
Ring City blows. I replayed that. I was like, oh, I can't remember how bad this was.
Oh,
Jeez,
I just hate all of it.
Sucks.
It's just like such a gray, miserable, sludgy game.
Sludge.
Well, I mean, everything looks like. Well, we're getting very off topic here.
It's okay.
It just, I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the art style. I think one looks much better. Two, the less said about two, the better. Colin's not here, so I can say whatever I want about it. But
wow.
Original
and Scholar, they're both as bad.
Oh, I don't like either of them.
Ooh.
I Again, we're getting. I think if people want to hear me complain about Dark Souls 2 more, they can go to my Twitter.
Nice.
But I think what you were saying, like Crab Man and like Boar Man and stuff. I guess maybe the fear at Games Workshop is that like that deviates too much from what a Beastman is, which is a goat guy. For some reason, that's what they've landed on, even though there's no.
That's the hill they'll die on.
In the lore, like there is all kind of manner of Beastman mutations. Like you, there's stuff like you'd expect. I always thought like maybe a siege unit that was like a ram man could be cool, like an actual ram guy.
Yeah,
but they're not gonna listen to me. Oh geez. Oh, yeah, I meant to say, so there's a character in Warhammer. This kind of ties into that thing you were saying about like blood gores and Khornate demons being too similar. There's an angle. Khorne in Warhammer Fantasy, there's this guy called Torox, the Brass Bull, and he kills. He's like a minotaur with skin made of brass, and or is it bronze? I think it's bronze. one of
Probably
the
bronze, yeah.
like bronze metals.
Or brass. I mean,
Um,
brass citadel, bronze. Yeah,
oh
it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
It's
Tomato,
fine.
tomato. Yeah, and so he kills a whole bunch of people as beastmen do, and then a greater demon shows up to be like, Khorne is pleased with you, Mr. Bullman, and then Torox kills the greater demon because he doesn't care about Khorne, he just wants to kill things. And then Khorne's like, whoa, this guy is the greatest. And he turns his skin into bronze so that nothing can ever hurt him.
I just like the idea that Khorne's on his phone like, metal! He just
yeah,
kills
exactly.
once.
So like, I as I said earlier, and as I have rambled on about for at length, I always think it's more interesting when the Beastmen don't really give too much of a shit about the Chaos Gods. So if you were gonna do something, if we were gonna fix 40k, if we were gonna be the men to do it, I think you gotta give Beastmen that kind of like the primal like Chaos Undivided flavor that they had in Age of Sigmar before you got rid of them, Games Workshop. I think there's probably more or again you could explore like there are beastmen who hate the Chaos Gods and then they run into some like blood gores who have dedicated themselves to Khorne and they're like, oh, you guys are weak. You listen to what the gods have to say. That's so cringe. You're cringe.
And then they're like, hey,
everyone look at these guys, they're
you
cringe.
fight for an Imperium that like doesn't even want you around and you're all weak because you're subservient to this regime that wants you all dead anyway, and they're just putting up with you. And it's like, that's a fun conflict.
Yeah, there's so much you could do, but we have to get there. We have to get some sort of representation in the main game first. And I think we will get there. I sound like Martin Luther King, but for Beastmen. We shall overcome. We'll get there one day. I think the way the wind's been blowing, more Beastmen characters have been showing up in books and stuff. They've been using Tzaangors a lot. They've been putting Beastmen in the side games like Kill Team and Necromunda. I think maybe there are more Beastmen on the horizon. Especially if they're being brought back.
Sorry, go
ahead. Oh yeah. If they're being brought back to the old world, there's some sculpts you can use. You don't have to, unless they use the old ones, which please, Games Workshop, if you're listening to me, on the off chance that, I don't know, some intern hears this, please, for the love of God, do not use the hideous, ugly, old 6th edition Fantasy Beastmen models for the old world, please. I can't take it.
Oh, no.
They're so ugly.
No. They're so ugly. I love him. Ant-Man reference. Ugly 6th edition. The thing is, I feel like the easiest way to reincorporate Beastmen into Warhammer 40k, get some Inquisitors involved. They can do what they want. Yeah. You could get them in, like, there's that Kroot that follows an Inquisitor around and he's a mercenary. There's, like, weird little bands of, like...
there's the Jakiro Inquisitors with, like, little monkey men on their arms.
Yeah. Have, like, a big mainline character like Bequin be like, oh, I got this Beastman. And he likes fighting for the Imperium. Even though he calls him the Goat Emperor, I don't put that against him.
It's a speech impediment, you insensitive jerks.
It's a speech impediment, yeah. Inquisition HR was like, don't you make fun of him. He's doing his best. And it's like, although I don't think you could do a Beastmen book per se, I'd love to, like, again, I'd love to write like a book where it's like it's an ecclesiarch priest with a team of beastmen, and it's all about them having clashes of faith, and you could explore how they fight and what their culture is like, because it's like we you say like, oh, they just like fighting stuff. It's like, but you could tether that to so many things, and like the obvious comparison would be like, oh, Khorne is the obvious easy manipulator of the beastmen. But at the same time, you could say, well, why do the other gods appeal to them? And why do we have things like Tzaangors and stuff like that? And it's like, because they have more facets to then Bloodthirst. But
they also like Slangors I can see, because Beastmen also like the other thing that comes along with raiding towns and villages, which we can't say.
Yes.
Also Beastmen women. Maybe an Inquisitor has like a they're called does. An Inquisitor has like a doe around, and she's like really, maybe she's really smart or something. you could do something with that.
Oh, Colin has to do an episode in the Beastmen and call it Do or Doze. There you go.
No, don't
I'm
call
gonna
it
tell him.
that. Don't call it that. There's I think the grand sum of lore for Beastman Doze is one paragraph from. It's not even from the tabletop. It's
But
from
he
Total
has
War
to do it for the
Warhammer.
memes. He has to do it
So
for the
it's
memes.
it's
You're
of
the meme man.
dubious canonicity.
Has to be done. Oh,
We
there
can't
it
do
goes.
everything for the memes. As sad. Well, I suppose I do. You guys can't because you're all serious lore people. But
Oh,
I can do
we're not
whatever
that
I want.
serious.
Although I will get comments.
I'm above you. I know what I'm doing.
Well, I'm below you, so I can do whatever I want.
No.
In a way, I'm like a beast man because I don't have to answer to the chaos gods or the YouTube algorithm in this case.
Yeah. To be fair, I've made a few memes on the second channel and I put them on Twitter and stuff, and I'm like, wow, how does DreadAnon do this all the time? He does so many good memes. I'm like, I made one a month.
Oh, you just steal them from funnier people, but don't tell anyone I said that. Delete this part from the podcast.
Deleting it now. Oh no. No Beastmen. Well, now you're in the conundrum. Either we the Beastmen that do, or we delete it from the annals of history.
Oh no, we can't do that. We need to wrap the Beastmen because God knows Games Workshop isn't going to do it for us.
That's why we're here.
In fact, Games Workshop it will probably see this and somehow delete every mention of the word Beastman from the archives because that's how they roll.
Be like Star Wars Episode 3. Was it 2 when there's like, if it doesn't exist?
Oh
in the
yeah, that's
archives,
episode 2.
It doesn't exist. There's number 2. Yeah.
Yeah, the Beastmen. The Beastmen at the moment officially don't exist. If you want to play a Beastman and it's not a Tzaangor,
to be fair, with that analogy, I just realized we're the younglings that Obi-Wan goes to see. It's like, well, if it's been deleted from the archives, and we're like, so someone deleted it from the archive memories. And Yoda's like, truly the mind of a child is wondrous. And we're like, Beastmen are fun. And that's us right now.
And then Games Workshop is Anakin Skywalker, and they're gonna come and kill us with their lightsaber of
murder us in the dead of night while his pregnant wife watches the cityscape,
no.
wondering, why do I feel uneasy?
Oh jeez.
Oh no.
They're gonna get us.
Well,
as long as we don't produce any merchandise, we should be fine. Looks strangely at your top. Just cover that up. Just
it's okay. It's nondescript man in robes, fantasy knight, and big man. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
You ever see that on third party proxy miniatures sites? They'll be like
oh yeah. Space Warrior 72.
I love that. I don't know how they get away with it, but they do.
Well, it's that whole thing of like, it's not Gucci, it's Gucky. It's like, it's spelled slightly differently, so you can't have it's an imitation. To be fair, I've seen certain YouTubers doing like actual quotes from the books with actual like one-on-one like artworks from the setting, selling that as t-shirts, and I'm like, how do you get away with it? My theory is that like it's a limited time release, so they can't be sued quick enough. So that's what I think it is. I'll sell it for a month. Don't worry about
it. That's what the art drive's for. We're gonna put this artwork out into the world, and someone can steal it to put it on a coffee mug.
Did you want to mention the art drive?
Well, it's over now, I guess. Hey everyone, we did a thing. All the money I made on my channel in December is being put towards commissioning Warhammer art, and it's gonna be great because it's gonna be stuff you ain't never seen before. Or maybe, well, no. Some of it I genuinely looked, and there was like actually zero artistic representation for the subjects mentioned therein. I think female Ogrins was a big one. Like, there's actually no art of female Ogrins.
Yeah.
I don't know. Another one was Imperial Beastmen. So staying on topic. We're gonna see some cool stuff. We're gonna see some cool art, people.
Because you do them like yearly or like every so often?
Oh, this is the first one. I'm planning on doing them like every year with like a different subject matter. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know if foolishly I found out that a lot of artists like close their commissions towards the end of January because it's like nearing the end of the fiscal year,
Ah,
and it's like, but we'll find somebody, and then I
nice.
guess we'll have most of them out by the summer.
Nice.
It'll be out when it's out, and we like that.
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, like I commissioned some bits here and there of like forgotten characters that no one like. I did like Caleb Aaron from the Death Guard from the first few books.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, smart one. He's like Nathaniel Garrow's Huskarl. So he like carries his sword and he looks after his stuff and he dies heroically killing Ignatius Grilgor. Like he deserves some art. Didn't get any views, but it was like the principle is what matters.
It's the principle.
So we need to see him.
It's artistic integrity. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you can stick it on that like website that hosts all the
I send a message to him. I know the guy Casey, and I'm like, hey, here's some new stuff every month when I do my Battles of the Horus Heresy and now my Battles of the Time of Ending. I'm like, here's some art, and he's like, oh, cool. I'm like, don't put it up until I put the video up, please.
Oh,
Thank
cool.
you.
I will, because like I've seen like lore videos and stuff where they really have to like stretch the what they put on screen. It's like, all right, I've got this one painting of like I don't know, a demon in this very specific pose. This is all I got. I'm gonna have to like pan, rotate, pan.
Yeah, it's tricky because like for my stuff, I never have like more than 10 seconds without a new piece of art. I like go sentence per sentence. I put a new piece, and sometimes I will spend like 30, 40 minutes going, what the hell? And especially these days when you're on Google going searching for a thing and it's full of AI art. And
it's
no
just
AI,
like
please.
The worst crap imaginable. And
yeah,
you should just do it like, you know. Funnily enough, we talked briefly about the brew from RuneQuest at the start of this, who were like the predecessors to the Beastmen. And because Warhammer is now much more popular than RuneQuest, I've seen like people using Warhammer Beastmen art to represent the brew. And it's like, it's come full circle.
It's like poetry, they rhyme.
It's like poetry, they sort of rhyme, you know?
Hey, Stephen.
I think I was more Jimmy Stewart.
What if we had the third film and it was in a haunted house rather than like George, what are you talking about?
Amazing.
No, we're not doing that.
You're almost getting Peter Griffin there, I think.
Hey, Lois. I'm on a train station. Peter. Yeah.
That was good, Lois, too. Oh, maybe you should be doing the memes and I should be doing the lore.
I do a couple. To be honest, I can do some.
I dabble in the world of memes.
I dabble occasionally. I still I'm on some Discords where I know friends in the Warhammer community. And I'm like, please, can I have a role called the Remembrancer, please? But they haven't let me, so I'm sad.
One day.
One day.
One day when you're a big shot and Games Workshop are coming to you for ideas, then you shall be the Remembrancer.
Remembrancer.
We'll figure that out when the time comes. There's plenty of time. Games Workshop will recognize. They'll again, the rogue intern will see this video and be like, "By Jove, I've got to tell the higher ups. Give me."
What I'll do is I'll meet up with Henry and I'll be like, "You're from Jersey, but I won't hold that against you as a Guernsey man. Like, we should combine our Channel Islands powers together and be the ultimate creative force." Though if ever I am in a photograph with Henry, I will say to him, please, can we make the photo so that we're both crossed arms, scowling at each other from as far a distance as possible?
If I ever get the opportunity,
meme.
Yeah, I'm never gonna get a photo taken with Henry Cavill because I know I'll just like a pile of puke next to him. I'll be like off camera.
You're beautiful.
Oh, thank you, but I am actually a dreadnought, so
it's a beautiful dreadnought. It's very girthy. Very large.
Hey, easy, buddy.
Easy, buddy.
What kind of show is this?
It's too late now. You're an hour and 30 minutes in. It's too late.
Jeez.
But yes. Anyway, to conclude the Beastmen, I suppose.
To conclude, the Beastmen are great. Go buy their models. Or well, don't, because they're ugly, but
don't buy them. Buy third-party miniatures.
Yes, and then the third-party liaisons to Games Workshop will say, Games Workshop, by golly, the Beastmen are flying off the shelves. What do we do?
Oh, yeah.
And Games Workshop will be like, how dare you even speak to me, you pathetic peasant? be
You
gone,
weasel.
be gone from me. That's how I imagine they speak to all the third party model guys. But yes, that did we settle on any? Did we fix?
They just slap them into submission with wads of cash, like get away from me, peasant. Yeah, like I think the consensus was that like Beastmen are really cool. There's so I want to make a kind of grandiose statement. I reckon Beastmen have more untapped potential than practically any faction in Warhammer 40k.
Why, that's the hottest tech I've heard this year, and possibly the truest.
Like, well, the thing is, like, even like
no,
I
totally
didn't plan any of the ideas I had with like stories. I just came up with them off the cuff, and I'm like, that's actually sounds quite fun.
Yeah,
like,
imagine like if you locked Dan Abnett in his bedroom for 10 days, and you were like, all right, Danny boy, give me 100 Beastman stories, chop chop. He could come up with some good stuff.
Have you heard the rumors that Aaron Dembski-Bowden might be taking up the mantle of like lead editor for Games Workshop?
I know some people would be very unhappy about that.
Well, still, it's like Leeds takes risks. Leeds does some crazy stuff, like Night Lord's trilogy. I don't care what anyone
You're a loose
says.
cannon.
That's an interesting one.
ABD, but ADB, but by golly, you get results.
Yeah, we're hitting on target every time, so might as well have a loose cannon once in a while. Why not?
Yeah,
give us some Beastmen,
they're they seem to be like obviously in preparation for this like Henry Cavill thing. They're probably going to be going on like a lower offensive or something. You know, they're probably going to just like either they'll like pump out as much material as possible, or they'll like quality over quantity. But I'm sure whichever way they take it, like it'll end up with more mainstream audiences being like, "Hey, this stuff's really cool," and maybe, just maybe the Beastmen will be waiting there for them to read about. Although probably not.
Well, Henry was a Superman. Maybe he can bring us a Beast.
I guess he's a Custodes guy, and they were in the toilet for a few years. So
they still are.
You
to
know,
be fair. I mean, I gotta be honest. Like, I love Watchers in the Throne. I've not read much about them since. I'm like, these Custodes. They sit on Earth.
I'm sure like a big Custodes fanboy would come up to us and say, well, actually, there's a lot you can do with Custodes. And I suppose like every fan of every faction is going to think that about their faction. But with the Beastmen, we mean it, guys, really.
Yeah. I mean, I've literally just finished video on the Sisters of Silence, and I'm like, oh wow, they were disbanded during the Age of Apostasy, and during the War of the Beast they were kicked out of the Imperium. Then they came back when they were like, oh no, we need them. I'm like, there's a lot of fun stuff with like them being exiled from the Imperium, them being rejuvenated during the year Indomitus. Like, Beastmen don't even have that. They're just like they're just here. And
yeah, I mean they have more now than they had like 10 years ago. So my hope is that we're building up to something. Maybe
they're like Cafe before Total Warhammer 3.
Cafe were like a line or two in in lore books, and then Total Warhammer
Dragon Emperor now.
Cafe, cool. Kislev. Oh, it's just so much new stuff.
Yeah,
but not for the Beastmen.
No.
There's still a couple of cool characters who never got tabletop representation, and they never got representation in Total War Warhammer either. You got Moonclaw, who is not a Beastman, but he's like this weird moon alien who just hangs around the Beastmen because they get along.
Isn't there one called Sun Eater?
Kulak Sun Eater. No, yeah. We're drawing to a close now, I think, but we would have to go back to an earlier section to talk about Kulak, because the Dragon Ogres, which Kulak is he's the biggest, meanest, toughest Dragon Ogre of them all. And the Dragon Ogres used to be Beastmen, but they're not anymore, because Games Workshop can't let Beastmen fans have a single W in the entire history of the faction. The Beastmen players have been taking L after L after L, and occasionally, when they take a win by accident, their Games Workshop is like, "Oh no, we can't let you have that." No, what were we thinking?
Whoops. Why weren't we persecuting you? Get them, hit them with clubs.
Back to the pit, slave.
Get back down there,
ironically,
you.
They're treating Beastmen players just like actual Beastmen are treated. Maybe this is all part of their metagaming strategy, but probably
we just
not.
need them to coalesce into the spirit of a Beastman before we give them a minute.
Well, they did that in Age of Sigmar, and then they got rid of them anyway.
Oh,
they had like there was like a new Beastman god, and then they shot him in a mountain.
It's mean.
Yeah, it was mean, and then they printed like a 1-page PDF that was like, and then all the Beastmen died. Good night.
Wow.
Yeah, fuck you, Beastmen.
Credits. Yeah.
Well,
it's just like this is your life. It's like, and
they were
5
like,
minutes in, that's
and
it.
some of them survived in scattered little insignificant war bands that will never be a threat to anybody, just in case we need them for something, but probably not. Just it's like kicking someone out of their house and then you like give them their sock drawer back. So it's like, oh, at least you have some socks. Your feet won't get cold.
It's like kicking someone out of their house, demolishing it, saying they have no right to rent anywhere, but saying there's a hostel down the road, or you have to pay for it.
That's exactly
and you'll never
it,
own a house in your life.
Only
screw you.
Yeah,
oh,
and
thanks.
you have to rebase all your models to take them into the old world.
Oh.
So it also all your shoes have been stolen.
Oh, no, not even that. Your shoes are exactly where you left, but the soles have been cut off. So it's just the outer
so
shell.
You need to go and purchase new soles for all your shoes.
What's the point of these shoes?
And
then every time you get them resold, someone comes up to your door, knocks on, and goes, "Excuse me, you got a license for those?" Like, oh.
Well, in 10 years, they'll be kicked out of the old world and into 40k probably. So, you know.
Well,
anyway, that's the story of the Beastmen.
I think we had some good ideas how to fix them.
It's just made me upset that none of this is ever going to be realized.
It's just a shame that you're not James and I'm not Workshop, because we could do so much work.
We are not Games Workshop. We are the Remembrancer, and we possess no power or authority. We could send our subscribers to like. I shouldn't
send them
say anything
strongly
here.
worded messages going, "Why is there no Beastmen? Oi!
I want Beastmen. Give me Beastmen."
Excuse me.
You hacks.
The Remembrancer and DreadAnon, very well regarded people in the space, said we should have more Beastmen. You prick. Give us more Beastmen, please. And they'll change their minds. Oh.
Well, they'll probably assassinate us first, but they've done worse for less.
I like the idea of like Beastgate, and it's just our faces on the wiki page, like
Beastgate.
Yeah. And they're like, "Is that the War of Beast, or is that the War of Vigilance?" Like, no, not the War of Beast, not the War of Beasts. This is like a real thing. Oh, okay.
We could protest outside that like chunk marine statue they have. We could like knock it down and replace it with like a Beastman statue.
Or we could go into the lobby where they have all the cabinets, like tear open the lock and like scoop all the Space Marines off of the glass platform and just put Beastmen miniatures in their place.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you can do that while I'll just have my arms outstretched next to you, blocking people from like grabbing you. I'm like, "Get away from me, nerds."
Do they have security?
We're doing important work.
I
don't think so.
Okay.
I want to say that like the staff are the security by default.
Okay. Sir, can you please stop replacing our Space Marines with Beastmen? We're not going to bring them back, just so you know.
We're gonna put these in here, and then we're gonna go to Bugsman's and drink all your beer. Like, oh, what a shame! Like, no.
Instead,
and then we're gonna be drunk, and we're gonna come back here and defend it.
You will only drink Tzaangor milk, and it will make your bones big and strong, just like Brutus the Minotaur. One of two named Beastman characters in Warhammer 40,000.
I'll dress as Brutus. You dress as Fabius Bile, and we'll go to Warhammer World, and we'll do that.
I can make you fight the CEO of I can make you fight James Workshop, and it'll be like
you know what I'll do though. Are you familiar with Like a Dragon, the Yakuza game?
Yes.
I'll just have like I'll have the mobile phone with the summons, and I'll just be like, Peachy Tips, Rogue Hobbies, Law Crimes, everyone I know, and just like summon them in to like.
Oh man, it's like Avengers, but with
yeah.
Do any? Are there any other Warhammer creators with particular affinity for Beastmen? What am I saying? Of course there aren't. Oh no!
I don't know. If they are, they're in hiding.
It's more likely that GW will summon the rest of all of yous to beat me up. There's that vile Beastman fan. Get him! Get him the hell out of here!
No, I'd be like, you know what? I approve of your massive influx of Space Marine miniatures, but here is where I stand. I can't allow 55 more models per edition with not one Beastman, and I'll turn around. And then I'll just like, it'll be like the end of the third Lord of the Rings film, and I'll be Aragorn and you'll be Gandalf, and I'll just be like, for Beastman, and I'll charge in, and that'll be my epitaph.
And then we get teased.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, that's how it would go down.
Yes.
For all.
Well, we fixed it, so that's what counts.
All right, we fixed. Good job, team. Go team.
Yep. Good, go team Beastman. But yes, thank you all for watching this episode on the Beastman. I had a lot of good fun. I'm sure Dread had some fun. I'm sure I heard some mirth escaping his sarcophagus. Before we go, though, Dread, do you have a last sort of plea, almost, to be like, hey, if you want to get into Beastman, here's what you should do?
Okay, probably, literally the most accessible way to get into Beastman is to buy Total War Warhammer and get the Beastman DLC or the Torox DLC, just because Games Workshop have been genociding Beastman players from all of their properties. You can't play Beastmen in 40k. You can't play them in Age of Sigmar. You're going to be able to play them in the old world, but that's a while off. You can play them in Blood Bowl if that sounds like your idea of a fun time. We didn't mention Blood Bowl once. I forget it exists sometimes. I'll be honest. Yeah, okay, play Total War Warhammer, play as the Beastmen. They're really fun. They're probably not going to add any more units to the Beastmen, but okay, I'll stop complaining now. The Beastmen are cool, in spite of their maltreatment.
Yes, even though they are a persecuted minority within Warhammer sections and factions, which is a shame, and all the players are being, eradicated.
They're hunting them down in the street like dogs.
Yeah. Beastman players are an endangered species. How ironic. But yes, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Fixing 40k. Done fixed it, and Beastmen are cool.
They are.
Yes.
See you, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody.
Warhammer, can we fix it? 40k, yes we can!